Hi, I'm Safi and listen to the gender panel. So if you want to start by introducing ourselves, maybe name, what you do, pronouns. Do you want to start?
Hey, I'm Zoya. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm currently a student at Leeds Uni and also part of Equaliser, which is a non-system teacher collective.
I'm Maddie, she, her, and I graduated from Leeds, but I ran Liberation Live last year.
Hi, I'm Rachel, she, her, and I'm a photographer and videographer based in Leeds.
Hi, I'm Helena, she, her, and I'm an assistant producer at Radio 1. I nearly said Leeds student
So if you want to start like maybe at the beginning, so talk about growing up before you were all involved with the media. What do you think representation was like of your gender in the media? Anyone?
Well, I actually, for me this is quite new as a career, so I never grew up thinking I want to be a videographer, but I'm mostly in the outdoor sphere, so kind of like adventure sports. And I mean, that's just very male dominated, like to be quick, and a lot of the people that you see even nowadays is still, the famous videographers and photographers that you see tend to be male. So I think that I grew up with that representation. And still now, but like maybe to a lesser degree nowadays.
What about with radio?
So I'd say with radio, in terms of like, I was always obsessed with radio once, that was like what I was always listening to. And you had both halves, because like, I was listening to a lot of the Chris Moyle show, which was definitely quite sexist. And like the women on that show were kind of like, the sport women and like, or the news women. But they had like a big part in it, but I think if I were to listen to that show now, I'd be like, oh god, but I guess it was like of its time. But then also on Radio 1, you did have like some really incredible women like Sarah Cox, Zoe Bourne, Brian Cotton, like who were all really strong and amazing. But I guess like a lot of that culture at the time were like, Zoe Bourne and Sarah Cox, it's like that ladette culture, and that's why they're like famous. So I guess now it's like it's really different to how I was listening back then. But definitely there were people I could look up to, just in a different way to how I want to do it now.
So do you think that like motivated you or demotivated you seeing like only women presented in like a certain light and only a few of them?
I think it motivated me, like, I was like, I just want to be there. And I thought, well, if they can get there, then I should.
So yeah, you're all in different areas of the media, but I wondered how like gender inequality manifests in your respective jobs or hobbies or whatever. Maddie, do you want to start?
Oh, I've got a speech. I run Liberation Live. I'm a graduate. I now work as a teaching assistant, which is amazing. Children are amazing. I have a master's degree, which is great. But I love the questions that you get when you first tell someone that you have a master's degree if you're a woman. So the best one is, were you the only woman in your class? No, of course I wasn't. It's things like that. It goes on and on. People are surprised when you're a woman that's done anything that is in science or STEM or anything like that. And the way that teachers treat me, especially the male teachers at school, is amazing until they realise I have a master's degree. So like, oh, could you just like, there are all the pencil. I can help teach the maths. It's amazing. It's so interesting the way people's attitudes are just assume that I can't do any maths. Even though I'm sent to the maths class every single day as the maths TA, they just assume I don't know any maths. And treat me like that until they realise that I'm more better maths than they are.
So like with the STEM subjects that you mentioned, I guess Zoya, DJing is also typically presented as quite a masculine thing. Do you find that sometimes you're mistreated or like not taken seriously enough because of your gender in that sphere?
Well, yeah, it's a funny thing because like growing up, like with Radio 1 and 1 Extra, like, I myself was listening to, like there were female and also like POC female DJs that I could listen to, so it was kind of like fine. But then when I started going out after 18, and like there was just loads of, it was just like a white cis male, usually like young as well, like sort of crowd, and it was like they were the ones who were playing and they were the ones who were taking up the most sort of space in the club, and that was sort of normalised until very recently. Yeah, I think there's like a lot of existing structures in the way that the industry is working and who's making decisions in the industry and like who's hiring who. Like a lot of festivals, the people who are like at the top who are making all the decisions are usually like white men, old white men, who like know their shit, like they know about music, but there's also like loads of other people who know about music, and I think when you have a more diverse group of people on a committee for something, then you pull different experiences and you can make your event more relevant and more accessible to different groups. Yeah. So if that answers the question.
So do you think that, perhaps the question for you as well, Hannah, you're treated differently or for you on and off air, or like behind the scenes and like on the decks and whatever?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot that was the actual question.
No.
But yes, is the answer. And that can like go from, that can be like in black and white terms with like pay and just getting paid less than like men who do the same job, like blatantly getting paid less, and just like this is a bit of a tangent, but like, you know, I have a female friend who like went to you know, was like going to have a mix with a male friend's place, and like, yeah, I don't think he was really paying that much attention to the music she was playing, and like ended up trying to like kiss her or something, and it's just like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like you know, there's like a woman doing like the same thing that like your guy mates are probably doing, but you just don't take her seriously, and like in that case, she's like sexualized, and I think there is quite a lot of like sexualization as well of women in music or in across different industries, and that's like a really weird thing with like men in perceived or like you know, actual positions of power who think it's okay to exploit women or other marginalized groups just because of the position that they're in, and because like these people are more vulnerable in the same field.
Do you guys also agree with like sort of seeing your male peers be treated slightly differently?
Yeah, and it happens like every now and again, because like I would say like at the BBC I am treated like well as a woman, but there are like the little odd things that happen when you're like, oh my god. So for example, like I have a good time at work, and one guy, like one like older producer, he was like giving me some advice because I had like a goal or a show I wanted to get to, and he was like, oh well, you know, just a little bit of advice, like maybe if you do want to go and end up working in that area, like you might want to be a bit quieter. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, and at first I was like, oh god, like maybe I am just really loud and annoying. And I was like, well no, that's part of me, like being quite loud, that's part of my personality. And the more I thought about it, I was like, no, he definitely wouldn't have said that to a guy. Like, here's some advice, be quieter. And whilst I knew that this man actually was trying to help me and he cared about me, and he wants me to go far, and I don't doubt that a bit, he's a really great guy, but he definitely wouldn't have spoken like that to another guy. So it's little things that you realise just manifested in the way someone can approach you and they don't even realise they're doing it. So whilst he did have a good intention and he wanted me to get to that show, but yeah, so little things like that happen. Or like if someone needs to speak to someone on the team, they'll look for the guy first and you're like, hello, I can help you. Yeah. So like little things like that. But that's what coming into like, that's what having to learn to push yourself out there and be like quite confident, which can sometimes be a bit exhausting.
Like,
could be.
do you find the same in your kind of?
In a slightly different way, I think that especially in the outdoors and adventure community, there's still all those lingering stereotypes that men are fitter, they're stronger, they can carry more, and especially in the climbing community, like when you look at the top grades of climbing, still like men are ahead. So it's quite difficult to say, well actually no, I can be fit enough to, hike up the mountain with you and to carry on my camera gear.
Yeah.
And to convince myself, because like I've had an injury the past couple of years, so that's been really hard, like getting in shape. So having that kind of vulnerability, as well as people being like, are you going to be fit enough as this guy who's 6 foot and like built of muscle? Like, well, actually, I don't know. Like, am I as good as that person? So it's a bit different than what you guys are talking about, is it? Because it's more like your own perceived literal physical struggle, as well as am I good enough? Because when you're looking up to people in that community, a lot of the people who are established, like Nat Geo photographers, for example, a lot of them are older guys, and a lot of people are older because it takes you a really long time to get that experience to become a Nat Geo photographer. Like that's one of my aims, but it's not an aim till I'm about 50. I'm not thinking I'm going to be it now. Like, give me 30 years, I'll get there. But a lot of them tend to be men, so it's hard to visualize yourself in that space that you just have to. I think a lot of it, like the communities, that it's good, I think, at the moment, but it's still difficult because you have those stereotypes.
Yeah. So you've all kind of proven that you're like successful in your respective fields. But I wondered about things like imposter syndrome and like doubting yourself. Is that a real thing for you guys? Do you think? Did you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, it's a lot. I remember when I first left LSR, and I was having a few meetings with people just trying to get some advice, different people I've met in the industry or LSR alumni. And I sat down with one guy, and he actually runs Capital FM, and I was like, the problem is I just feel like I don't know what I'm doing. And he was like to me, and then no one knows what they're doing. I literally ran Capital. And then I was like, oh, okay, so yeah, you're actually, you go in with that feeling a lot, but then the more you the more experience you get, that confidence does come, but with every new challenge, I do always feel worried. And I guess there's I don't know where I'm going, but definitely I do get that feeling a lot, because you just worry, God, am I actually good enough to be here?
I feel the same. Like whenever anyone wants to pay me for anything, I'm like, really? You sure you want to pay me to take photos? Like even though I've had so many jobs now where I've done photography and video, every time I get a new client, I'm like, are you sure? You should be able to find someone better. It's just,
that is true.
I think that's a female thing, more predominantly someone who's a woman who might feel like that. But I don't know. I feel like it's a human thing.
I think when you do creative stuff, if you love what you do, it can always feel like a hobby and not a job. And the problem is if you take any time from it, you're like, oh, that was just that hobby that I had. And it wasn't something that you could carry on, and that's the constant balance in between trying to have a normal life and pay rent and stuff, and also trying to convince yourself that you have something interesting that is of value, that is something that you could do, is constantly in the way and balance of trying to. And I think sometimes imposter syndrome is a human thing, but sometimes I think I definitely have a complex where I must feel self-sufficient. I want to feel self-sufficient, and it's because I don't like to rely on people because I want to be like a people little woman. And I think there's something inbuilt where I'm like, oh no, I have to do everything for myself because I can't rely on anyone else. And I think that is to do with gender. I think that is maybe where it links together imposter syndrome for me. I feel like my creative pursuits aren't enough to support me, and I have to support myself because I want to feel like a strong woman and not like a different kind of woman. And that is just an internalized thing for me.
Yeah, and it's exhausting because naturally as people anyway, we do have our limitations, and we should be able to accept that, I think. Zoe, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I mean, I got mansplained about my mixing earlier this year, and so I sent this mix to some people in Germany where I was living, and he was talking about booking some of like my male friends in Leeds whose music he listens to, and then it was like 3 months since I sent him the mix, and I was like, oh, so like, how about that mix? Like, did you listen to it? And he's like, oh yeah, I listened to it like 3 times, and like, it's really good, but like some of the transitions are a bit sketchy. Can you record it again, please? Thanks. And I was like, yeah. And then like I actually thought about it and was like, that was 3 months ago. Like that was a totally different headspace. No. And it's like a 2-hour long mix, like, and it's like, and then, but anyway, after that, every single gig, like I flew back to playing Sheffield, and like, that hope works, and I was just like standing behind the mixer, like, oh my god, I don't deserve to be here. Like my mixing is sketchy, and just like convincing myself that he was right. But in a way, like that just made me hone in on it even more and just like focus on it and like practice it a lot until, yeah, it's that like every time you go behind the mixer, it's just like, right, what's going on? Like every time you're like you're winging it, but it's that like gaining confidence in the fact that you're winging it and that's okay. And you're just every time you see what's up until you get into a comfort zone. And there's also like a weird imposter syndrome because like I kind of like have a double life. Because like I've got like a Pakistani like Muslim family, and that's like my whole upbringing, and like, you know, drinking isn't a thing, smoking isn't a thing, dating isn't a thing, having friends of the opposite gender isn't really a thing, having like trans or like queer friends isn't a thing, or being queer isn't a thing. So there's like different levels of imposter syndrome with that, and the way it feeds into like the work as a DJ. But then, I don't know, with the creative fields, with art, like you can always sort of, the magic of it is like channeling a voice for those things that are like sort of, how do you say, that you can't put into words, and like channeling something to speak for that or against that, or like for your work, you know, voicing your experience, which is really special that we can do that with art.
So on the flip side a little bit, I want to talk a bit about tokenism. This is something I constantly worry about, and I was wondering if you guys worry about your respective fields, like worry about only being booked to sort of as a woman, or to sort of make a brand or a company look better.
Like, I don't know, there have been times where, like, I think they don't think about balancing it enough. There have been times where I've looked at a show and it's being produced entirely by men, like white straight men, mouse brown hair. And like, there's like the same. And I've said like, oh, don't you need a girl working on that team? Like you were saying earlier, like everyone can draw different experiences, like from their experiences. How are they gonna reflect their audience if they don't have like a good sample of their audience working on it? So like there have been times where I've been like, actually. So no, sometimes I think like, yeah. So if I am booked as like the only woman on like that show, I'm normally quite like, oh my god, like it's so I need it. But like I can't reflect like every woman. Like my experience is so different to like so many other people that are women. So you know, it's a tough one, isn't it?
I don't think I've had that experience, just because a lot of me being booked is my work. So I don't know if I have terrible work people book me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in my space it might be maybe in the influencer community that could be a thing, but in my space I don't think that.
Sorry, I guess like, as a Pakistani woman, like, because I constantly worry as being like a brown lady, and I'm just being booked to sort of like, yeah, get the representation up. Do you ever feel like that's a thing?
I feel like not enough people have like clocked onto the race inequality in the music scene. So like they're just over for now. But I feel like most of it's been like to tick the gender box.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they thought more about race, but more on that to follow in the other talk. But yeah, no, yeah, like definitely like feel like I've been booked somewhere just because I'm a woman, or like, I don't know if you saw that poster in Bruno Groove that was like, any female DJs who play house and disco, and it's like, Yeah, it's a funny one. No, it's weird, like to be booked, like just to tick a box, and you feel like they're not actually caring about your work. But then when you're like in that position and you have that platform, then I think it's like a more healthier mindset to be like, well, let me just do what I do, and at the end of the day, like you're an artist because you care about your art, and so to try and channel that and just like, yeah, in that situation, just try and let your work do the talking is like a healthier way of dealing with it, I think. But definitely do feel like sometimes people just reach out because they want to just like, it's like, you know, someone might have pointed out to them that it's all men and it's like looking very manly, and like someone's going to call them out, so might as well stick like one female name on there.
I do think, like you said, about putting like the female before like the job role, like female DJ, female photographer, female something, it does just feel a bit tokenistic. It's like,
Yeah.
there's more to you than just short gender.
Yeah, it's like, do you actually care about the work? And like it's that like not being seen as an equal, and it's just like it just adds just another dimension to it. But yeah, I think like people just get really comfortable in the way that they're working. But like I'm really lucky to come from Birmingham, which is a really diverse place, and just like in our community they're just really normal from being this small, that you've got people from all around the world in your classroom and in your community, and you know who are your dinner lady and dinner men, like it's just there's people from around the world, and like leaving that and like just like wherever I see a lack of diversity, it's kind of boring, it's just not as fun, it's not as involving. Yeah.
So on a more positive note, I want to talk about change and change that you guys have all fostered. So for example, groups like Equaliser and your event Liberation Live, how have people like yourselves and others fostered change in the community and in the media? Do you want to talk about Equaliser and Liberation Live?
Liberation Live was an event we did last year, which was basically the baby version of this event. We had some panels. We did it at an LGBT-friendly coffee house in town that you should go to. The coffee is great there. Flamingos is amazing. Please go. And we had some DJs, and it was lovely, and we had some really good conversation. And I want to be like, oh, like I did a thing, like look at me. Honestly, I think it's kind of mad that we didn't have an event about diversity until last year. I want to be like, I want to take all the credit for this, but I think it was just, we needed to do it. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we've started doing it and talking about diversity and getting people in to talk about their experiences and start conversations. So I want to take all the credit and say me, but really it's just like having the shows, I think, has made a huge difference. I can't remember when they were introduced, but LSR has some liberation shows. So we've got the LGBT show, we've got the BME show, and we've got Women's Hour, and I think bringing those back, for having those things, meant that at some point we're all going to start to collaborate, decide to do something. At some point we're all going to start talking to each other. So I think it's one of those things that is an ongoing effort by everyone, little bits, where people start to say, hey, why don't we first start to talk about this, and then once we've talked about it, we can see what needs to be done.
Yeah, with Equaliser, so it's like, yeah, we all just went around to Ranulas for a mix, and it was the first time that I've gone to like a female friend's house, have a mix, and it was like all other like people there were women, and we were just like, this is awesome, like this is such a nice feeling to be able to share in this space, and it was really liberating that we've never connected with music in that way. It just felt so like easy and comfortable, and then yeah, we decided to have DJ workshops for different levels of like skills, and it's been amazing because it's just like served as like a hub. And I've just met so many amazing people through it, and we have parties that fundraise for the workshops. So we had people like Yeji and Fozia and Sherelle and Eris Drew, Octa like lead workshops, and it's just really amazing to have this exchange between like, you know, like someone that we all look up to, and people like Yeji saying she still gets Imposter Syndrome, and Sherelle being like, well, you need to go to your set and you need to think that you're shit and this is like your time and you're the best at what you do. And like, you know, just like the loveliest people like Eris Drew and Octa. It was all just really inspiring to have this like exchange at different levels. And yeah, like so yeah, that's one mechanism for like trying to create visibility for non-cis men who are interested in DJing and music. And I think literally just like having this collective identity, having this name for it, this like hub, so hopefully like a space for people to go to. We had a collab workshop with BPM this week, and I think starting stuff like this, or like even if it's like with one or two other people, but if you just say you're doing a thing and give it a name, that in itself just like creates something in people's consciousness and brings an issue to people's consciousness, and that in itself can affect change because people are being like conscious to the fact that there's not that many, that there weren't that many like non-cis men on lineups like 3 or 4 years ago. And like Sable's really great for that as well, to highlight like, POC talent in the city and to say, hey, there's all these artists, and like if you want to list, then sure, here we'll like create one for you through our archives. And yeah, I think like creating that visibility can start like affecting change and having conversations.
So this is very much like kind of on a local level. What about like on a more national level? Like, have you noticed change in the BBC since you've been involved?
Yeah, well, there's kind of two sides to it. They have a lot of things in place that mean that they do try and get the most diverse workforce that they can. But then at the same time, that's because of the problem of it not being diverse enough. So yeah, in terms of change, like I've only really been there a couple of years, but I feel like comfortable in being a woman, but like my bosses aren't necessarily women yet. But the ones that are, I feel I'm quite close to, like go and speak to them. I feel like I don't know, but maybe I just kind of latch onto that and like working. But I don't really know.
Do you think it's still a work in progress?
100%. Oh yeah, 100%. But I would say that the change is growing, but slowly.
You said that your sort of area is still quite male dominated, especially like with Nigeria. Do you think this is changing? Can you see any change happening, or is it still a work in progress?
I think it's still a work in progress, but even from like, for example, I don't know if you've heard like Entanglement Bounty Festival, which is like an outdoor festival. I did 3 years in a row now, and each year I go, there's more and more female filmmakers and their films out there, and they've got a whole section for female adventurers to talk about their experiences and things like that. So each year it's getting better because, like you said, it's getting better because there are issues, so they're putting a lot of effort into it. And I mean, there's also a whole competition. It's a competition, but it's like a filmmaking competition for outdoor filmmakers, and that's primarily just for women as well. So I think that there are more and more spaces available, like groups being created with that in mind to kind of bring up, especially like young new filmmakers who kind of, it's very, like for example, you're all within a community of people, but often as a freelancer you're kind of isolated, you're on your own, especially I didn't come out of university doing filmmaking, so I kind of just started and was like, I've got no friends, I don't know anyone. So the fact that those communities have been created is massively important because it means you can connect and do projects together maybe. So it's work in progress, but there's definitely more being done. And I can see in 5 years' time there'll be a lot more amazing female filmmakers.
And that's the thing, like you pointed out, it's not like there's a shortage in female photographers or radio DJs or teachers or whatever. Or creators in general, but it's about finding a space for them, I guess. Obviously Maddie and Helen are not currently based in Leeds, but do you think there's like a notable difference in Leeds? Or why do you think Leeds is a good space for creating it?
I live in a Tory hellhole, so I'm always drawn back here because if I have only two things to compare to, I think about where I'm from, which is a Tory hellhole. I will never ever forget the first time I kissed a woman in my local nightclub. That it comes back to me in my nightmares. The reaction, the way, the entire room, it was the worst thing. I could have a feeling, I could lose it now, but that whole atmosphere of that place, and then how different it is here, and it's probably why I love it so much here, why I keep coming back on trains in the middle of the night. But I know that other people don't feel like Leeds is very diverse, and I think that maybe it isn't, and maybe because I have nothing to compare it to, I think it's the mecca of diversity.
Yeah, I feel the same. I came from a village. There was nobody, no one even knew what my sexual bent. So I know we're talking about gender, but I'm not even joking. When I was out, it was all everyone was taking pictures of me or something. So I feel the same. Living in Leeds, and I've also lived in Oxford for a bit, which is, it's very diverse level. So it's, it's Oxford, it's what I was before. Very sorry. But yeah, coming to Leeds, I feel like there's diversity here, especially being this university. I never came to this university, but the stuff that you guys are doing is amazing. So, from my perspective,
Yeah, I feel like it's a really comfortable space to try things out, and there's a lot of grassroots projects going on and stuff. I always felt, I don't know, when I was at LSR, there was such a buzz. We were we can do anything, because you had those people around you. So for me, it's a really, really incredible place to be. But I appreciate everywhere could improve. But in terms of Leeds, yeah, I'm even, because I try and keep track of everything. Like you mentioned, Sable, I watched that create itself. I can follow Instagram and stuff. Just those things seem to be popping up, and it seems really cool. It's growing and growing. So yeah, and I found it very inspiring that, so for example, even at LSL, going to put on an event and actually doing it and being wow, it's possible. So yeah, I think it's a great place to be. Do these things if you want to do it, give it a go.
I don't actually know how we're doing for time.
10 to 12.
Okay, sweet. I don't know when we actually started. So we feel like change is happening in Leeds and going forward. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to loop back to, I kind of wanted to loop back to, obviously change is happening, but kind of the ways in which change happens. We're talking about tokenism and the good and badness of tokenism. Wow, it's amazing people are thinking about diversity. It's really horrible to feel like you weren't hired for your art. How we do that. You and I were at the Channel 4 talk. We were both there. They were talking a lot about diversity, and it also felt like it wasn't very diverse there, and that they didn't really know what they were talking about. The woman couldn't say LGBT, but she kept taking a breath in the middle of it. It was really weird. I've never seen anyone do it. And I was just wondering if you or any of you had anything to say about the ways in which you have to enact the change and how you can do it in a way that isn't horrible. Because obviously I ran an event called Liberation Live. Obviously I was on the LGBT show, and I felt like I could run that event, and the event had an LGBT portion, a BME portion, and a women's hour portion, and there was a lot. I was I don't want to speak for anyone. I want to make sure that people, I'm a white woman. I'm running an event with a big portion of it that is about black and ethnic minority issues. I want to make sure that everyone feels like they can speak. And then when I thought about it for longer, I was I think that this will spring more stuff that will be led by other people. And the more I thought about it, I realised I had started this event. I hope we keep doing it and different people run it. I hope it's a shared thing. And then I also realised if I hadn't suggested we ran this event, Patrick would never have done it. If you don't know Patrick, he's amazing and lovely, and was so happy that I came up with the idea for this event. That he was our station manager, who was white and a man, and he was I want to do something about diversity, but there's no way in hell I am chairing an event about diversity because you will laugh at me. And so I guess, I don't know, does anyone have anything to say, or am I just standing in the dark trying to come into the point?
No, I think you're right. Like, for example, I've got a lot of privilege as a white woman, like fairly middle class, like I'm straight passing, I've got a boyfriend, so like there's so many things within my life I'm very privileged and like I can't, you said I can't speak for all women, I can't speak for all diversity in that kind of way, that kind of thing. So I think just being aware of if you are able to elevate other people, like not elevate a strong word, but kind of if you have a platform, like let's share this platform.
Yeah.
And I hopefully would love to do that in the future with my films and actually do films about other people and their experiences.
Yeah, and I think, like, as you just mentioned, and as you touched on earlier, it's about not just having women on your team, but like giving them the positions they deserve, like letting them lead sometimes, and not just, and like letting them make decisions and organise these kind of events. So that's the most, I think, effective way. And like organic ways.
And non-binary people, sorry, I feel like
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
didn't even say, I just win, but like, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's about
Everyone.
common.
Yeah.
Yeah, gender.
No, I didn't think that. I was like, ooh, but I guess
Yeah, but I feel like as a yeah, you kind of in a way have to like work twice as hard. It feels like you have to work like much harder just to like prove yourself as being capable. But that's done because like, who are you trying to prove it to? And it's just difficult, to be honest. Like I don't really know the answer to this. Still working it out. And like yeah, maybe other people will be able to answer it better. But in terms of just being like treated like seriously and like taken seriously and treated you know, as you might imagine that your like cis male counterparts might be. It just feels like you have to sort of work harder to like prove yourself. But yeah, I don't know. I think something that keeps me going is like just having faith in what I'm doing and feeling inspired by people around me and enjoying like small scale things as well as like sometimes bigger things, but just starting with grassroots and like I think like in Leeds like really lucky to be inspired by like just having amazing people like Kokocha just came to the building and like Aura and I can't do names, there's so many names, but there are like lots of people who are like cultivating like the spaces that they like see like that aren't already there, doing something to make it happen or like starting a conversation. Yeah, so like having those sort of spaces and like having equalizer as well. Like it's like we've got it like, but hopefully it's not something that we have to keep on doing. It kind of feels like creating that sort of space like pushes the first domino. And then hopefully like gets the ball rolling and then like until it's just not a thing anymore, we have to talk about gender diversity because it's just normal because there's like all kinds of people who are artists and who you'd see like doing their thing and who'd be like getting platforms. But yeah, it does feel like there needs to be some initial like work and visibility and like conversation and like get knocking down the first domino. And I don't know, it does feel like you have to work harder in some senses to prove yourself.
You know what you mean about the proving yourself thing? I feel like I'm a little bit obsessed with it. I can't tell if it's because I'm like, oh, I need to show them because they might not think I can because I'm a woman, or if I just want to let them know. But like, so like for example, literally the other day, I said to this guy for like one of his radio shows at the BBC, like, well, I can make videos for your show if you want. And he's like, yeah, cool, maybe. So I just made a load because I was like, sent them to him. I was like, here we go, I made it. Because I was like, maybe he doesn't think I can, so I'll just show him that I can.
Yeah.
And you know how you were saying about the paying, sometimes it's surprising they won't pay you. I was like, don't worry about paying these, I was just playing around with my new Premier Pro, I was like writing. I was like, so I do. Yeah, I got Black Friday deal, I was so thrilled. But like, and he replied like, no, of course I'm going to pay paid for these. Like, I don't expect anyone to do any editing for me, like, without payment. And like, I was like, okay. But like, yeah, so like, it's, I don't know whether, but maybe I did need to prove to him because now he's going to pay me. Like, he hadn't asked me to do videos for them. So it's a hard, you kind of, I don't know, I feel like I'm working out as I go along.
Yeah, I totally feel that too. But like in having this conversation, I also feel like it's like the biggest part is probably proving it to yourself and like believing in yourself. And like, yeah, it's that whole like winging it, but then like having confidence in your winging ability and having confidence in yourself. Like, no, I've actually got experience in doing this, and like it's kind of a little bit what I do, and like just proving it to yourself that you do have what it takes, and that everyone else who's doing what you're doing is also just a human, is also just an overgrown baby, just winging it, and so are you, and you can do it too, and just like, I think like fostering that, so I'm not like, I've like struggled with mental health stuff, and that like confidence thing, and like asserting yourself in, gosh, even like speaking here now, but it takes time, and like just building that voice, and like, that confidence and that like self-belief and that the belief in your work above everything.
I'd love to add one because it's just something that when I was asked to join this panel, I think it really goes on with what you're saying about believing in yourself. And I don't know if this is anything that other people deal with, but I personally really still struggle with a lot of internalized misogyny and comparing myself just to other women and not to men. Because for some reason men are better and they're expected to be better, so I should try and pit myself against, for example, male photographers, which is obviously absolute nonsense. But every single day I have to stop myself from being jealous of other women's work. And maybe that's just, I don't know how old you guys are, maybe I'm a little bit older, maybe it's just a slightly different way I've been brought up. It could be a lot of different reasons. So I think that belief in your work, the more you believe in your work, the more you don't feel threatened by anyone. Because, I mean, competition at one point is great, it drives you, but I have to really consciously make sure that I'm raising other women up instead of thinking, oh no, that person's more successful than me, or that person made something that I think is great, and actually be proud of them rather than feeling threatened by it. So I have to make a very conscious effort. And I'm trying to be, so I recommended one of my friends for a job recently, because they asked for more female filmmakers, and I was like, I know some of it, like, I don't hate her, because she's amazing, but I'm good at, like, I actually do want her to be successful, and I think making a really conscious effort, because that's not something that's natural.
I think that's a really good point that you just touched on, because like all this like normalization of whatever like standardized norms and whatever, like we all have to become conscious of it ourselves, like realize what's been indoctrinated, and just sort of like pause in some of our thinking sometimes and be like, whoa, like, what was I just thinking about? Like when I moved to Leipzig, the street that I was living on was apparently like the most dangerous street in Germany, and there was like a gun crime like the year before, and there's a lot of like refugees and migrants on that one bit, but a lot like the rest of the town was quite white. And I remember like being told it's the most dangerous street walking back home, and I felt myself react differently when like a white man would go past me, or like a brown looking man would go past me. And then like I just clocked that I was thinking that way, and I was like, what is that? Like, stop what you're thinking, like where is that coming from? And then let's just like beginning to deconstruct that and be like, dude, you're brown yourself. But like that aside of just like why are you thinking in this way, and why are you just like stopping, like realizing that you're thinking that way, and that applies on like lots of different levels of just like, well, okay, with like there's this just an indoctrination of a certain way of thinking that comes from many places, the media, like etc. But we just need to all like reassess our thinking and like be willing to educate ourselves, and be willing to listen to other voices, and be willing to accept that we need to work.
Well, I think with groups like Equaliser, that will hopefully tackle like the internalised misogyny like you mentioned, and I just see more representation of the issue. That's the
something.
Yeah.
And with you guys leading the way, I'm sure the future looks promising. So yeah, thank you so much for talking to everyone today. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
You can do it.
You want to do it? So yeah, thank you. And yeah, is there any questions that anyone wants to ask? Yeah. Or you just put it
What do you think other people can do, like allies of women, I guess men? What can they do to encourage, like just to make things more equal in the workplace and in music and in radio? Helen Webb, that's for you.
What can they do to encourage?
Yeah.
I guess it's just when they like put those opportunities out there, it's like getting in contact with people, the right people, and encouraging them as well, and like making it very clear that this is for everyone. Like there's that classic stat, isn't there, that like more men will apply for a job even if they don't have however many like points on it and whatever, and like just yeah, just encouragement, and then also the way I guess like that allies like treat us. I work with an incredible producer. He literally is such a yes man. Like he will be like, yeah, okay, let's do that, and then I'd be like, you can do it, and I'm like, woo, can I? And like he just believes that I can straight away, so I then go and do it, and it's like amazing. So it's about the way people treat you as well, like really equally. He doesn't like double check on all my stuff or like question my ideas. It'll always like help me improve and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just generally how people approach and speak to you.
Yeah.
I guess, and how they treat you in the workplace and beyond that. So yeah, I'm fortunate in that way. But it hasn't been without those instances. Like for example, I was at an interview once, and for another station, and they said, "What are the weaknesses of our station?" And I said, "Well, it's not very diverse, is it?" Didn't say it like that, but I was like, "Oh, I think it could be more diverse, for example, for like all these reasons." And then I got like mansplained that that wasn't the case. Well, so it is. So I walked out like, "Oh, well, I guess I haven't got that job." But I was glad to not get it, because I was like, "Oh, if you think this is actually diverse, then I should go work somewhere else then." So that's fine. So yeah, so the different, you notice the different way people treat you.
I think mansplaining is one of those things that just affects the way you feel in a situation and the whole dynamic of the situation if someone is continually explaining to things that you know. And it's such an unconscious thing, and it's such not even something that anyone, well, sometimes people do on purpose, but I think often people are doing it on purpose, and sometimes it can be people that do know you're capable. It's like an ingrained thing to just be like, "Oh, that's actually this." It's like, yes, of course I know that. And just for people who are allying women thinking about these issues, just be comfortable when they're called out, and it not to have to be like a really egregious, horrible conversation. Just to be like, "Oh, like sometimes you would over-explain to me in a way that I think is rooted in something that you're doing unconsciously. Please think about it in your spare time."
I actually had to do that once at like another place. Like one of the producers, he just kept calling me babe, but like, "Babe, I'm going to need you to do this," and like really patronising. And then one day I was like, "Oh gosh, I'm going to blow up," and I just was like,
I'm not your babe.
Yeah, I said like, "I'm sorry, I need you to stop calling me babe,
Yeah.
and I need you to like maybe think a little bit about how you ask me to do things, because it feels very, very patronising, and it's making me feel quite angry at you, and I don't want to feel angry at you because I work with you every day and I know that you're a good person." I just said that, and then I was like, and do you know what? He stopped calling me babe, and he like got better at how he was talking to me. But it was definitely yeah, that was it, internalized in him, that how he thought he could speak to women. But like, I like to think that I helped them out. I think it's better to speak to.
Yeah. Like, you know, that's what Jack was saying, like, just people who are able to offer platforms and jobs for women or like for the minority groups, like just giving them jobs, like giving them work, giving them platform and space for their ideas. and like funding to be able to carry them out, like instead of like your boy squad. And in terms of like bigger issues like that, like, you know, just the misogyny and like belittling and just like and just like acting slimy, like had like an issue like with like certain people in the music scene here in Leeds, and thought about like what's the most constructive way to go about this. I don't know if you read like the open letter to the Boys Club that dominates music by Jenny Cheng on Mixed Spices, and it was just about, it was like one person's letter about their experiences in the club as like an Asian woman, a queer woman, and like as a DJ, and like how it's just like a boys club and isn't really. So yeah, I think like an open letter is like a good medium to sort of address like the key issues. And even though like in your experience there's like one or two certain perpetrators of those things, it's like a good way to like, well, we're thinking it's a good way to structure these issues that we have with certain people, which is like giving a weird energy or making some people feel uncomfortable or vulnerable, or like, you know, they're being like, you know, the story with like someone like just kissing someone against their will, like just weird and not cool. And trying to address it in like an open letter way, and just like trying to bring like the issues to like general consciousness, and to just try and like do something about it, to say like, yo, this behaviour is like not okay, and like try not to be complacent where you see these things and where you see these mechanisms and where you see like the, oh yeah dude, and like, you know, the fact that everybody in that like male chain of action and like that thing just sort of is complacent about like their friends like crappy behaviour, lets it carry on and like makes them like just stay oblivious to it. So yeah, trying to like point out where you see like crappy behaviour, and like I don't know if it's like a big thing, then like an open letter sort of format of just bringing the issues to people's consciousness and just saying like, yeah dude, not cool, change it up please.
And like we all have work to do, like especially as a group that, like not only for our like female sisters, but like non-binary and trans players as well. So yeah, I guess it's about. Is there any other questions?
Hi, I just wanted to ask about the gender pay gap and what you think we can do as women to make sure that we're not paid less for the same jobs, especially because pay in general, in like across almost all careers, is something that isn't really talked about that transparently.
I was working on Women's Hour when that whole gender pay gap palaver happened a couple of years ago, and Jane Garvey was just bad about the whole thing. She had like a meeting that day with the director of the BBC, Tony Williams. She came back and announced, don't worry everyone, you have been sacked. She was really, really vocal about it. I would say like you can see like the BBC pay like how much people are paid online, and I don't look it up, and there's definitely a massive gap. But in terms of like internally, with like in production and stuff, I don't really know, because I've just been very like, I'll just get paid what it is, I just want to be here. But like now it's getting on a bit, and I'm like going freelance and stuff. I'm learning to like be very clear and like rate myself. So for example, I was quoted a day rate, like yesterday, this is our day rate, and I came back to them and I was like, well, this is my day rate. And we're going to be in the middle here. And we had a discussion about it, and we agreed on something where it's like literally 2 years ago, I would have been so scared and never have done that. So I guess it's like a confidence thing. Like I'm learning to like rate myself more now, which is like actually a really incredible feeling. But like I think it takes a while. So yeah, so I think when maybe I go and take a contract at the BBC again, I might have the confidence to be like, so is there negotiation on pay? Like I will ask that question, but I don't know if there's any discrepancy between me and my male peers at work. I don't think there is right now.
I think it's especially hard as a freelancer, like for anyone as a freelancer, because everyone just wants you to work as cheap as possible a lot of the time, and people are quite secretive about their prices as well. I think there's a lot to be said within the freelance community. People actually say, well, I charge this much. and actually helping each other to make sure that you're not undercharging, you're not overcharging. So it might be again a gender thing that men might be more confident in asking for more money. Because I know I'm always like, yeah, I want to do this cool project, I'll do it for free. And my boyfriend's like, no, like you're paying to travel somewhere, like, you know. So it's having that confidence, but also, if you ever get into freelancing, see if you can find somewhere online that actually has, because there's places online now where all the freelancers have put in their own rates, and you can actually see an experience level graph and how much people are charging. So when you go to charge for a project, you will know, okay, well I've got 2 years experience, I should be charging this much, so you know you're not worried about charging too much or charging too little. So there's a lot of gender aspects to that, but even in the freelance community, it's a bit of a minefield sometimes. It's awful, I hate it still. It's hard.
It is that thing that if you don't ask, you don't get, and it's like really hard to do that. And I've definitely underpriced stuff as well, like for my art, and I've told friends how much, like other friends who do art, how much I like my rate, and they're like, what? Like, you're getting robbed, like what are you doing? Like, that's so low. But obviously I didn't know, and it took like that experience to be like, oh damn, and then that also it's weird because it's like M&S, it's like it's overpriced, but because it's overpriced you think it's really good, and you're like willing to pay that money because you're like, yeah, no, this is worth this is M&S standard, but it's like if you underprice it, people might not take you seriously in a way. So I don't know, it's a tough one to get the balance right. It's also a struggle here, but I think we do have to just assert ourselves and be like, actually, this is what I'm worth, and starting a chat with peers of how much are you getting for this, what's fair, and being conscious of that before you agree to a rate. And also with freelance and stuff, if you're working for a big company, I did this thing for Nivea and just totally underpriced myself. I was like, oh my god, Nivea actually have money, and I would feel fine asking them for money, but I didn't know, and then just screwed up. But whereas if it's a DIY thing or a charity thing where it's not about the money, then it's different. But I would always say wherever there's a corporation or money involved, tap into it because they've got money to be able to give.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I've applied recently, and every project I've done for them, I've just chucked £100 on there, because the first one I did, I was like, I've lost money on this. So don't be scared to ask for more, even if you quote an initial price or something, then you can up it. There's no harm in asking as long as you do it politely and acknowledge that maybe you want to charge the first time.
Any other questions?